Well, with the Super Bowl approaching us, part of that bowl game is going to be that red zone, that last 20 yards before scoring a touchdown. And there's also a financial red zone, that last 10 years before retiring and that first 5 to 10 years after retiring. Stick around to today's episode where we're going to talk about the importance of that financial red zone, some of the mistakes that we see people make, and how you can plan for your financial red zone and your future.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searens, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Well, great to have you on Your Life, Your Money. I'm Ben George. He's Scott Searens, President and Financial Advisor over at Searens Financial Group. And you heard him in the intro. We're talking Red Zone today with the Super Bowl approaching and, us kind of putting a wrap on football season when we're recording this. Thought it's perfect tie-in to talk about the financial red zone and what that means for your retirement. Welcome in, Scott. I know you're a sports fan too. I know you've been keeping up. The Bears haven't had the best year. Maybe the future is going to be brighter for the Bears, but nonetheless, we are nearing the end of the football season. It's hard to believe that another year's in the books almost.
Yeah, it's quite the season. Playoff games, even though, yes, my Bears are out and we're just kind of sideline watchers now. The playoffs are still a lot of fun to watch, right? Playoffs are fun to watch. Super Bowl's fun to watch. It's just, it seems like the games get even more intense, even more competitive, and it just makes it a ton of fun to watch, even if your team's out. Now, who's your NFL team, Ben?
Now, I'm not a diehard. I'm more of a college fan in general, but the Titans are my team since they – from Alabama originally, and then when they moved to Nashville, I kind of adopted them. I worked briefly with the Titans radio network as well, so kind of had that tie. So they've been my team. I don't have a lot of confidence. Now, again, we'll preface this by saying we're recording this heading into the divisional round of the playoffs, so anything could happen. Titans could be in the Super Bowl. They could have not been knocked out by the Bengals. We don't know that yet, but they are my team. I don't have a ton of confidence, though, Scott. They're a good team this year, and they're the number one team in the AFC, but I still like a little iffy on completely buying in and putting the emotion into it and really investing in what the outcome's going to be.
See, that's why as a Bears fan this year, I just get to be a sideline fan, not worry about anything, just go and enjoy the Super Bowl party, right? And that's,
there you go.
My one question is, why have they not moved the Super Bowl to Saturday?
Yeah, we had the same discussion about the college football national championship, which is on Monday too. And this one obviously on Sunday, but it's why not move those games to Saturday? I know they're traditional time slots with Sunday and then also with Monday being a Monday Night Football time slot. But Saturday would make it so much more enjoyable for everyone, especially the day after and not having to go right into work. I'm with you. I would love to see those games moved to Saturday night. And
do you have a Super Bowl party favorite, or maybe I should say Super Bowl party favorite food?
Scott, I like a little bit of everything. I love a good cheese dip. Like a queso with maybe a little bit of sausage in it. That's one that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Now, see, I just go back to the basics. I'm as long as there's some chips and salsa there, I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
We're easy to please. Sounds like. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of people will be paying attention. I don't know if there's a lot of Packers fans in your area, Scott, but the Packers look like they could be making a deep run. But either way, we'll be keeping it on and having some fun with it. But the reason why we bring it up is because we're talking about this financial red zone and why you don't want to fumble your retirement in this red zone. And if you know football at all, if you've watched it, you've heard about the red zone, right? It's that the 20 yards leading into the end zone, which is such a crucial period. You don't want to make mistakes. You want to execute so you can fully maximize your opportunity to score a touchdown rather than kicking a field goal or even turning it over. And it's the same thing with the financial red zone, which is what it's been classified as. It's such a crucial period in your life as you're kind of getting to that point of retirement. You want to execute there down the stretch. There's less room for errors and mistakes, and we want to talk about why that is, what you should be paying attention to, what mistakes people make, and how you can be proactive with that. But you kind of touched on this in the open, Scott, a little bit. But break down the financial red zone, kind of define what that actually is for us.
Yeah, and as people are thinking through this, and I love relating it to football. I know not everybody might not know all of the exact, particulars about football, but I think like you'd mentioned, that 20 yards right before scoring a touchdown. So you can kind of think about that. And then let's also just think about the red zone in the Super Bowl, right? So it's every second counts, every play counts, everything that you've worked so hard for all year, right, comes down to these plays. And now it's not only, the plays in that Super Bowl, but those plays in that 20 yards away from scoring that touchdown to maybe put your, team in the lead and to win that Super Bowl. So that financial red zone is kind of very similar, right? You've worked hard, you've made it through the regular season, and now you're at this critical juncture. And I like to say that it's the 10 years approaching your retirement date, and then that first 5 to 10 years after your retirement. And the decisions that you're making in this period can really make or break, what your future looks like.
So I think it's important to point out, too, that you mentioned it's not just, that time leading up to retirement. Because, with football, you get to the end zone, you're in, your drive's done. But with retirement, that red zone actually spills into retirement, too. And it's crucial that you don't think about it as, hey, the finish line is retirement.
You're totally correct. And here's why we want to really, pay attention to this and why it's kind of that spot, not only before retirement, but that first 5 to 10 years after retirement. And a lot of that is because time is just no longer, on your side. You're shifting from a company paycheck to no longer having a company paycheck, meaning you're now using all of your retirement resources to live your lifestyle. So any sort of mistakes that were to be, made in this time period could be really difficult to recover from if there were to be a market correction. Now, hey, I'm a big believer in investing for your future, investing in the long term. But this time period, right, let's just say there's a market correction. Well, depending on how you're allocated, a market correction during this time period could be tough to recover from. So unfortunately, we just, we're in a time period where time is no longer on your side. So being able to recover from mistakes becomes even tougher.
Okay, so that's some of the reason why you need to be paying extra attention once you get into this financial red zone. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that you commonly see because, obviously we point out why it's important. Let's talk about what you should be avoiding if you can. So what are some of those mistakes that you see people make typically here?
Sure. And before I want to, I dive into that, I just want to relate that back to football so people can kind of understand, hey, what mistakes could cost them, right? So, hey, in football, if everything's done right in that red zone, you score a touchdown. You get 6 points. You've got the opportunity to kick the field goal to give you a total of 7, go for that extra point, give you the total of 8, right? So everything's done right. You're scoring the most points. If you make some mistakes, but you're able to kind of recover from some things, right? Maybe you're just kicking a field goal, you get the 3 points. But if you're making a ton of mistakes or you fumble the ball, right, you're giving it up to the other team. You didn't score the points. Maybe you're not winning the game, winning that Super Bowl. So some of the mistakes to be aware of when it comes to, your retirement, when you're in that red zone, is failing to reduce risks. And I think, I just mentioned it as we were talking there. What if there happens to be a market correction? Now, I'm not saying that you need to take all of your money and shift it, completely conservative. Actually, I feel that sometimes people can become too conservative as they go into retirement because you have to think about inflation, cost of goods going up. So you need some growth. You need some equity on your side. But are you shifting some of your funds into what I've nicknamed the war chest, right? That safer side of your portfolio. Another good way to look at it is maybe into some sort of bond funds or something that's more conservative in your portfolio. So that first mistake, right? Failure to reduce risk, shifting over into that safer side. Because what if there is that market correction? Do you have an area to go to in your portfolio to make those withdrawals from, to take that income from, while the other portion of your portfolio recovers? If you've set this up properly, great. Then while you're on vacation and you've retired now, you're on vacation, the market's crashing, you can say, hey, I'm not worried about it. I've got my war chest to go to grab, my income needs while I watch everything else go back up. Folks that haven't reduced risk and, might still have 100% of their portfolio in equities, well, if the market goes down by, 10, 20, 30, or 40%, Now they're going, oh man, the value of everything I own is down so much. I don't want to go and sell it while it's down. And now they might be reducing their retirement lifestyle because of this potential mistake that they've made. So that's the first one. The second one is just not having a plan. And if you think about this, right, all of the great sports teams out there, they have a plan. When they've made it into that red zone, they've studied the defense, they know the plays they've practiced the plays, and then Ben, I'm certain you see it all the time too, right? When we're watching these football games and the quarterbacks are yelling out all these numbers and names and you name it, right? They're calling all these audibles because, hey, things just don't go as planned. And so the same for your planning for your retirement in this financial red zone. The mistake I see is that people don't have a plan versus those that do, meaning knowing all of your sources of income that could be coming in, your Social Security, pension, rental income, deferred compensation, stock options, understanding all of that, understanding all of what could potentially be going out, lifestyle expenses, maybe you want to take some trips, maybe you want to help your grandkids with their college education, thinking about inflation, the cost of all of this going up, and then, running this kind of scenario, what's coming in minus what's going out for all of the years of your life. That's going to help you understand how much do you need to withdraw from your retirement savings, which goes back to my first point of reducing risk. Taking how much you need to withdraw, start shifting that over to your war chest based upon your retirement date and when you're going to need that money. But all those great teams, they've got a plan, and then they've got a backup plan on top of that.
Yeah, could you imagine a team getting the ball in the red zone without a game plan for what they wanted to do? I mean, that would be a disaster. And it'd be much like that in finance.
Yep. And then they're just turning the ball over, right? And
yep.
And I think that's the same for, folks that, hey, are making that mistake going into the red zone or being in the red zone without a plan is unfortunately they just not recognizing maybe how much they can actually spend. And one of the, things that I really enjoy doing with my clients is giving them that license to spend. Hey, you've worked hard, you've saved, whether it's been, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million or more. Now understand how you can go and use it. You've saved it for a reason. Go and use it for a reason.
Well, you talk about planning and why it's so important, right? And you need to have a plan. Well, let's really explain why it's key, especially when it comes to the red zone. If you are someone that has been building a plan and sticking to a plan leading into the red zone, well before you reach this critical 5 to 10 year period before you get to retirement, why are things easier for you? Why is it more beneficial to be in that position?
I think this is where it goes to us kind of talking about how they're able to, not only in football do they have that plan, but then they have that backup plan. The quarterback recognizes different situations and they're able to call that audible. So first, with a plan, you're already going into retirement, or maybe you're in that first 5 to 10 years of retirement, right? You're in this red zone. And going into it with a plan, you've already got this comfort level. Hey, I've tested things out. I know when I'm going to retire, what age. I know all of the different sources of income that are coming in. I know when I'm going to take my Social Security, when I'm going to start my pension. Oh, I've got this rental income. Again, maybe there's some stock options that you're adding into that, depending on where you're working. You've got an idea of your lifestyle expenses, and you've tested all of this out for your life, so hey, based on some projections, it looks like everything's okay. So now you're sitting in the red zone, right? Just ready to score that touchdown, no problem. But, hey, life doesn't always go as planned. So then let's just say you decide that you want to retire early, or you want to work a few extra years, or unfortunately there was a bit of a market correction. Well, now you can, since you've already started with a plan, it's so easy to call those audibles. It's so easy to look at your plan and test out new scenarios. But if you're driving without direction, right, you're not going to know where you're going. So starting with that plan just makes future life and future decisions a whole lot easier when you do need to call those audibles.
Yeah, it's always better if you give yourself more time to make adjustments, right? I think that's You can say that for many different aspects of life, but football and the red zone here financially, it's the same thing, right? You identify these issues earlier, and you're able to really kind of get them under control and put yourself in a better position. And ultimately, the goal is to score. Even taking this analogy further, like score touchdowns versus field goals, right? Like you can maybe do things okay and be successful enough to kick a few field goals and probably score enough that way to win, but the touchdowns are going to give you a much better chance for success long-term versus the field goals. It's kind of the same way, right? If you execute at a high level with your finances versus, hey, let me just kind of get by and do enough, then you're going to be in much better shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, here, just continuing right on with what you're saying about, the success here is, and the other part is not necessarily waiting until you get the red zone just to start making these decisions, right? So you think about all the teams that are in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I mean, they're going into this Super Bowl game, and I'm sure that the behind-the-scenes training, preparation, coaching, game film that they're watching, I mean, there's hours and hours of study and practice that's going into that game. So when they are in that, financial red zone, right, they know how to execute at that high level. And so we talk about this as being a really critical period, but, also don't wait until that critical period to start planning. Just like a football team or any sports team is going into any game that they want to win with coaching and practicing and watching a lot of film, go into your, financial red zone with a plan already in place. And so just, I can't stress that enough of the more that you're planning, the more that you're able to execute at a higher level, and the more, I'll say, the easier it is to help call those audibles, make those changes with comfort and confidence when you need to.
I love it. I love it. It's a great conversation to have and one that you need to be thinking about. So if you don't have a plan in place now and you're in the red zone, well, now is the time to act. If you're not in the red zone yet, but you're getting closer and you want to kind of get ahead on these things, be proactive, give yourself the best chance at long-term success, then it's best to sit down with an advisor now. And if you want to talk with Scott, best thing to do is visit lifemoneyshow.com. There you'll find not just all the podcasts we do, but Scott does videos as well, other content there on the website. So it's kind of a hub for everything. And if you want to learn more and educate yourself financially, that's a great place to start. A lot of great free resources there and YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe to that channel while you're on there. But a lot of good stuff, Scott, and we do appreciate you taking us through this red zone. It's so important for people, and it's great timing with football happening right now. It's an easy way to kind of picture it, right? I mean, I think that's key with finance a lot, is kind of making it easy for people to understand, because it can get very convoluted at times. And I think this is where this kind of analogy makes it a little bit clearer for people.
I totally agree. Hey, if we can break things down into simple, actionable steps, I've found that it really helps people just take that one simple step at a time, and over time those continue to compound and just make for a really great future.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you breaking that down for us. We do have a listener question I want to get to before we close out this episode of Your Life, Your Money. It came in from Laura, Scott. She said, I'm 56 and I've been working at the same company for 32 years. I'm so tired of being here and I want to retire, but I'm still a few years away from being able to take money out of my retirement accounts. So am I just stuck for a while?
Boy, Ben, hearing this question a lot, right? The great resignation that's going on. I mean, I think it's like millions and millions of people that are resigning from their jobs right now. So 32 years, let's just make this assumption that Laura has saved and invested and can retire. Just a few things that she would want to think about here. First off, if all of her money is in a retirement account, there is a 10% penalty for withdrawing your funds before age 59 and a half. And I know people are listening going, whoa, wait a second. I've heard about this rule of 55. And so first, right, typically you have to wait until age 59 and a half to withdraw your retirement funds. Otherwise, there's a 10% penalty. There is, however, what's called the rule of 55, in which case you can withdraw funds from your company 401k, the company that you are currently with or just left, but it has to be that specific company. You can withdraw funds from that company 401k starting at age 55. Now, there's a caveat to this, and I just want to tell you a quick story. I have a couple clients that are looking to retire at age 55. They've saved up, and they've done very well for themselves, and they said, hey, we just, we're not looking to work forever. This is why we've saved so hard early in our lives. We want to, retire now. The one spouse, their company actually allows them to, make, I'll say, partial withdrawals. So if they wanted to, take withdrawals from their account, they can, and they can say, I want $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month or $6,000 a month, whatever it is that they need per each and every month. The other spouse, the company does allow the rule of 55. However, the rule for that company is that you have to take it in one lump sum. So, yes, there is the rule of 55 out there, but I still recommend to everybody go and talk to your specific company and ask them some very specific and clear questions when it comes to this is, can you start taking partial withdrawals at the age of 55? And again, this is the company that you're either currently employed with at 55 or the company that you just separated with at 55. But if it's an older 401k plan, you're like, hey, but I've moved around a few times. I got like 3 old 401k plans. Doesn't relate to those at all. Just the current company you're with at 55. And I think the other thing that this really, stresses, Ben, is the importance of tax diversification when it comes to your retirement savings. Not, taking a look at things and maybe not necessarily putting all of your funds, your retirement savings, into the 401k bucket and utilizing other accounts like Roths, like an individual or joint brokerage account as well. So that way you've got money in different buckets to be able to take from if you did want to retire early.
Great question, Laura. I know you're not, as Scott mentioned, you're not alone in that position. There's a lot of people that are looking to try to retire early here with the pandemic and everything that's happened. It's given a lot of people time to rethink where they are in their life and their careers, and we wish you the best. But again, sit down with an advisor to make sure that everything's in order and that you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's before you step away, because there could be more options than you are aware of. So it's always great to get the insight of an advisor. So if you want to talk with Scott, again, start with lifemoneyshow.com, or you can call him directly at 847-235-6989. So that'll do it for this episode of Your Life, Your Money. Scott, good as always. Hopefully our Super Bowl predictions, I don't know if we actually made any officially, but hopefully things work out well and we enjoy the Super Bowl. And I hope whoever's listening to this, if you're listening before the Super Bowl, enjoy that party as well. I know it's a great time of the year, and it's the last real football we get for a while.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Ben, for a great conversation.
Absolutely. Well, take care. We'll talk to you again in a week here on Your Life, Your Money. Please subscribe to the show wherever you listen, and find us on YouTube and online at lifemoneyshow.com.
Sierens Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.